I was noticing that there was too much the wrong kind of nationalism. And that is why a lot of our policies
Sure.
were overly protective, shielding the Philippines from foreign competition, saying we don't want you, foreign investors. And just to cut a long story short, it was the influence of what contributed a lot to Philippine independence. But in the area of economics, started a disastrous path. I'm referring to Quezon. You remember what Quezon said? I prefer a Philippines run like hell by
Yeah.
Filipinos than a Philippines run like heaven by Americans or foreigners.
Yeah.
And that influenced a lot of our leaders at the beginning of our path towards democracy. And so somehow a lot of the leaders had that idea, no? It's an equivalent of what MAGA is, but not make the Philippines great again,
Yeah.
but make the Philippines great
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
shielding us from all these vicious foreigners.
Yeah.
That was the mentality. We put up a lot of white elephants,
Sure.
large, but which was inward-looking import substitution industries.
Yeah.
And that was a terrible mistake because all our neighbors, the ones who became the tiger economies, were putting up labor-intensive industries oriented towards the export market and simple garments, toys, textiles. And we wanted already to leap before we could crawl. No?
Today's guest is Dr. Bernardo Villegas, or Doc Bernie as we call him. He is one of the Philippines' most respected economists and public intellectuals. He graduated summa cum laude in Commerce and Humanities from De La Salle University and was a board top-notcher for the CPA board exams. He then went on to take his master's and doctorate at Harvard University as a Fulbright scholar. Dr. Villegas is a co-founder of the University of Asia and the Pacific, and he served as a member of the 1986 Constitutional Commission. He has also served as special economics advisor to multiple Philippine presidents. Beyond academia, he is also co-founder of the Makati Business Club and has held directorships in several major corporations, shaping economic policy, business, and industry development. In this episode, we talk about the man behind The Economist, stories from his youth, a bit of inside stories from the 1986 Constitutional Commission, and we talk about the roadmap for a first world Philippines by 2040. Join us and welcome to the Mad Jeepney Show.
Hop on! The Mad Jeepney!
All right. Well, I'm so excited for today because our guest is the prophet of boom, the father of Filipino economics, the man who wrote your high school, college economics books, and even one of the framers of the 1987 Constitution. We have none other than Dr. Bernie Villegas. Doc, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Jolo. Thanks for giving me this opportunity
Yeah.
to continue my work of economics education.
Yeah. No, I mean, when Jake and I were conceptualizing the show, you were one of the people we really wanted to have in the show as one of the first guests because really, what we want to do with Mad Jeepney is to share stories, perspectives, insights, to hopefully, move the Philippines forward. And you would be the perfect guest to create such content. So thank you, and we're such privileged, maybe podcasters to have you in here. So again, thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah. Well, everybody knows you as the Economist, the bright voice of the Philippines from then, and now the wise advisors of all the big conglomerates. But I'm sure that was maybe accidental for you to a certain extent. Growing up, did you always envision yourself, or did you ever envision yourself rather as someone who's going to be a thought leader in Philippine industry and economics?
Well, just to tell you how I grew up. I was born before the Japanese occupation.
Okay.
So my father was a medical doctor, and then he worked for the Department of Health, and we moved from one place to another. I've been to Baler, to Calapan, to Dumaguete, name it, because he was constantly being reassigned. So we traveled all over the archipelago. And so, obviously, at that time, I couldn't even think of economics as a profession.
Sure.
In fact, just to tell you, my formal training was to be an accountant.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a CPA.
You studied accountancy in LaSalle, right?
Yes, but I never practiced. So economics came almost like an accident because I applied for a scholarship with the U.S. Embassy. It was called the Fulbright Scholarship. They said, these are the areas where we are encouraging Filipinos to go to the States. Accounting was not in the list. We had too many accountants. But economics is in the list. Then I said, okay, that's close enough to accounting. I choose economics.
Is it close enough to accounting?
Yes, of course. They're both based on a lot of figures.
Sure.
Yeah. Actually, if you don't have accounting, you would have the data for economics to analyze. Thanks to the accountants.
So
can
you-
talk,
You took up your master's and your PhD in the US, is that right?
Yes, at Harvard.
Both at Harvard.
Yes.
Okay.
In economics.
Okay.
So I left accounting behind.
Okay.
Although I took the exam for the CPA. Fortunately, I was
Yeah.
one of the top notchers.
Yeah.
But accounting did not appeal to me.
Uh-huh.
So
Well,
and I'm glad I shifted
to
to
economics.
economics.
When did you realize that accounting wasn't for you?
Oh, almost from the time I passed the CPA.
Okay.
Yes, because it's too focused on just data. And at least at that time, I wasn't still working for a corporation.
Yeah.
I saw it as a very repetitive
Yeah.
task.
You topped the bar, one of the, if not the
CPA.
CPA bar, right?
Sorry.
And you were also summa cum laude in LaSalle, right? In accounting.
Yes, I took the LIACOM.
Okay.
And in the LIACOM, you have courses, the liberal arts component and the commerce component.
Sure.
So in both
Okay.
courses, fortunately, I was able to obtain the summa cum laude. So I had a double summa cum laude from LaSalle.
Double summa cum laude, right? Wow. I mean, impressive. And were you always the academic or the smart guy in class when you were in high school or grade
fortunately,
school?
probably because I was too bookish.
Yeah, yeah.
I hardly played any sport, so I would consider that as a virtue. But I focused a lot on my studies, and from the very start of my grade school, I usually ended up as valedictorian.
Okay.
Grade school, high school.
Wow. And you said you traveled a lot because your dad was a doctor.
Yes. For example, I started grade school in Calapan,
Mindoro.
Mindoro.
Yeah.
So and then we transferred to Dumaguete. I finished my grade school in Dumaguete in St. Paul's College at the time. And I transferred to LaSalle. Then since then I was in LaSalle all the way up to college.
Okay. Okay. And I'm sure that was fun. Dumaguete is a great place.
Oh yes, I like to go back
Yeah.
to all these places. In fact, even before I started schooling, my father was assigned to Baler.
Baler, yeah.
Baler is a surfing
Yes.
area right now.
Yes.
So I love to visit
Yeah.
those places.
Have you been to
Yeah,
Baler or
yes.
Dumaguete recently?
Not recently, but especially when the father who was present,
Yeah.
Secretary of Education, was still
Yeah.
alive. I would work with him, and he would invite me to Baler because they come. The Angaras
Yeah.
from Baler. I always
Ah, that's
enjoy-
right. That's right. That's
Yes.
right.
And
They
I-
have a nice resort there.
Yeah, and I used to bring my mother and my siblings just for a sentimental journey to Baler.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
of course, I've got to Dumaguete more often because
Yeah.
I cover Central Luzon, Central Visayas,
Yeah.
from Cebu. Dumaguete is just an extension of.
I heard diving there is really good.
Dumaguete is the perfect place for retirement of. So many foreigners there. You
Yeah.
probably know that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're heading out there and you need someone to help you out or to carry your bags, I'll be more than happy to
Of course,
to join you.
Yeah.
If you need a ride going to Baler, I haven't been. I think last time I was there was 10 years ago. So
Yes. They say the roads have improved and
yeah,
there's going to be a major infrastructure
Yeah.
project there. So
yeah,
that's one thing that I have observed because I traveled a lot.
yeah,
Our build program has been actually successful. So that's one thing that a lot of Manila-based people don't realize,
yeah.
that our failure to build infrastructure in the past is being remedied.
Yeah, I mean, just going to La Union, for example, right? Before, it was really an adventure to get there. Now people go there overnight
Correct.
because of the infrastructure and the
Yes.
ease of travel going to La Union. I think
Correct.
in the south, something similar as well.
Yes, exactly.
So after you graduated in LaSalle, summa cum laude, CPA, double summa cum laude, you applied for a Fulbright scholarship. I think this was the time when the Fulbright program was also a bit aggressive in giving out scholarships, and you said economics was a priority area. You flew to Harvard. How old?
I was 20 years old.
20 years old.
Yes.
Did you ever travel abroad prior to that?
No, that was my first travel.
And how was the experience? I mean,
Oh, definitely. I was actually terrified, first passing through Tokyo, and it was a very long journey. Then
Yeah.
Anchorage, Alaska. At that time, you didn't have the direct flight.
Sure.
Then passing by the Midwest, and
Yeah.
probably almost after a day and a half, landing in Boston.
And who gave you that nudge to apply for a Fulbright?
Well, actually, my parents definitely, because they wanted me to have quality education, and Harvard was very well known. So really, my father and my mother, they were the ones who encouraged me.
Yeah.
And fortunately, my academic records were good enough
Yeah.
that I was able to
I'm sure. I mean, if
qualify
one
for Harvard. No,
if one summa cum laude wasn't enough, you had two. So I'm sure that got them interested. And were there a lot of Filipinos when you were in Harvard that time?
No.
And what years were these?
From 59 to 63.
59 to 63.
Yeah.
Okay.
There were a few probably. In School of Arts and Sciences, probably about 5.
Okay.
Usually in the business school, there usually are 4 or 5 every year.
Okay.
Some of my contemporaries were, say, Jimmy Ongpin, who was Secretary of Finance
Yeah.
during the time of Cory Aquino. So some of the people who became CEOs, Oscar Hilado, who just passed away,
Yeah.
and was head of the FIBA group. These were my contemporaries at Harvard.
Okay. And going back, so after you took up your master's and your PhD, 4 years, was it? 5 years?
Yeah, it took me 4 years.
4 years.
59 to 63.
63, right? So you got back to the Philippines.
No, I had
Not
to
yet?
pass by Europe. So it's
Europe.
a very interesting
Sure.
part of my professional development. So when I was at Harvard,
Yeah.
I met some people from Barcelona
Yeah.
who were just starting a school that they called, with a very long phrase, Instituto de Superiores de la Empresa. So that's the way they call them. Now it's well known all over the world as IESE.
Yes, eh.
Probably one of the best business schools in the world today. No?
Yeah.
So I met some of the people who were just founding that school, and they asked me, "Hey, we need a researcher. We're just beginning to develop cases along the Harvard method." So they invited me to spend a year in Barcelona. So I spent a year in Barcelona before coming back from Harvard.
Okay.
And I'm glad I saw the beginnings of what, as I said, is one of the best business schools in the world now. So we are trying to replicate,
Yeah.
yes, at our university today.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And you maybe for uh, those who maybe are not too familiar with your work, of course, you've been one of the economics experts for decades already in the Philippines. Maybe looking back in terms of the Philippine economy, what do you think are the areas for growth? And what do you see we did really well the past decades, and then what do you think we should be focusing on in the next coming decades, just to continue, the Philippine development?
Well, first of all, before I answer that,
Yeah,
let me tell you about the stage in my life after coming back
sure.
from
Please.
the States, where together with someone I also met at Harvard,
Yeah.
Dr. Jesse Stanislao,
Yeah,
we saw that there was a need to put up a think tank
yeah.
that would help both the government and the private sector
Okay,
analyze what's happening to the economic environment.
okay.
So we put up what was then called and is still called Center for Research and Communication.
Yeah.
CRC
Yeah,
became a byword at that time for data that executives needed
yeah,
to do their planning.
yeah, yeah.
And since we also were communicating directly with the government, so we were able to influence both sectors of the economy.
Private and public.
Yes.
Yeah.
So CRC was probably the first think tank along the American model of think tanks.
And I think talking about CRC, maybe in terms of, because you and Doc Jess, and I think we'll be inviting him over to the show as well real soon.
Yes, you should talk about good governance because
Yeah.
he's right now the guru of good governance.
I know. And I bought his books, the one about governance in the Philippines across Spanish, American, Japanese, and modern times. And I want to ask him a lot of questions on that. But maybe you mentioned CRC, you and Doc Jess founded it. Maybe what was your first output? Do you still remember?
Yes, well, CRC was both a think tank helping the local executives,
Sure.
including government, to understand how global, regional, national developments are impacting on the respective business or operations.
Okay.
So that's what think tanks do now
Yeah.
as a normal
Yeah.
service. But we also had a very important section on economics education. And that was devoted to making sure that from grade one, Filipinos were being educated about economic concepts.
Yeah.
So we wrote a lot of teaching materials.
Okay.
And we were especially proud of a book called Guide to Economics for Filipinos, which, as you mentioned, was used by a lot of high school
Yeah.
classes in economics. And then we put up a program to teach educators who were assigned to teach the economics subject. So we had a Master of Arts in Economics Education. So I consider that a very important contribution we're making. I'm very proud of the fact that many of the products of these programs became economics teachers and eventually rose to superintendents and very high levels in education.
Nice. Nice.
One of our most important graduates who put up a foundation called Synergia. I think you should invite her. Her name is Bilvida Guevara.
Sure.
She was Undersecretary of Finance in one of the governments. She would also be a very good person to interview.
Oh, I'd love to have her. Maybe after the show, I can you can
Yes.
connect me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the name of the foundation is Synergia Foundation.
Synergia.
Yeah, it's very well known
Sure.
in the civil society
Yeah.
sector. So I would consider that my work as an economics educator was, at that time, my most important contribution
Yeah.
to society. And then, of course, the second was
Sure.
to make sure that the economy nationally as well as at the
Yeah.
industry level,
Yeah.
that it was being directed towards
Sure.
the right causes. And now, answering your question, at that time,
1960s, right?
1963 all the way up to martial law.
What happened? What was it like that time from an economy perspective?
Yeah.
Maybe as CRC and as one of the subject matter experts for economics, what was your analysis of the overall 1963 to martial law period, and what were your maybe advocacies, if not policy recommendations to the government that time to help both private industry and of course the common Filipino folk?
Yeah, at the time, I was noticing that there was too much the wrong kind of nationalism. And that is why a lot of our policies
Sure.
were overly protective, shielding the Philippines from foreign competition, saying, we don't want you, foreign investors. And just to cut a long story short, it was the influence of what contributed a lot to Philippine independence, but in the area of economics, started a disastrous path. I'm referring to Quezon. You remember what Quezon said? I prefer a Philippines run like hell by Filipinos than a Philippines run like heaven by Americans or foreigners.
Yeah.
And that influenced a lot of our leaders at the beginning of our path towards democracy.
He said that circa what time? 19
In the
late
in the early
40s?
40s.
Yeah, early
When he was
40s.
still, when
Okay.
he was still running the Philippines as president, no?
Yeah, yeah.
And so somehow a lot of the leaders had that idea, no? It's an equivalent of what MAGA is, but not make the Philippines great again,
Yeah.
but make the Philippines great
Yeah.
by
yeah.
shielding us from all these vicious foreigners.
Yeah.
That was the mentality. And so that influenced a lot our industrial policy. So we wanted to be independent as much as possible of practically any manufactured products that could be done more efficiently abroad. So we put up a lot of white elephants,
Sure.
large, but which was inward-looking import substitution industries.
Yeah.
And that was a terrible mistake because all our neighbors, the ones who became the tiger economies, were putting up labor-intensive industries oriented towards the export market and simple garments, toys, textiles. And we wanted already to leap before we could crawl. No?
Got it. So,
Yeah.
well, I think the zeitgeist at that time, or the general sentiment was, after, hundreds and hundreds, 500 years under Spain, Japan, and then America, I guess Quezon was coming from a place where, I guess, of fatigue when it comes to, being ruled over by foreign
Foreigners.
powers.
Yeah, we were colonized by 4 different.
Yeah.
powers,
So I guess
Yeah.
that was the emotion
Yeah.
at that time, the public sentiment, and then come this new rhetoric where let's do everything ourselves. We may have bitten more than we could chew at that time.
Correct.
To your point, when you mentioned that it was the wrong kind of nationalism, at least from an economic policy perspective,
Yes,
and you mentioned that when it comes to manufacturing or maybe even import export, I think you said that mentality became a hindrance to overall economic growth.
Yes, yes.
What
that-
exactly does that mean?
That mentality led to 2 disastrous consequences.
Sure.
One is they were all overly obsessed with manufacturing. When the first step a backward country has to make is food security. Meaning, develop the countryside, develop agriculture first, and then later on, move towards industrialization. So we completely avoided that most important step because we had the natural resources. I would understand why Singapore would not start with agriculture for obvious reasons,
Yeah.
while Hong Kong would answer. But we had vast agricultural resources.
Sure.
And 90% of our population were in the countryside. But we favored the few who were in Metro Manila, and we said, let's make sure we have industries in Metro Manila. We put up chemicals, steel, etc. That was not only wrong from the standpoint of what types of industries where we had competitive advantage, but what portion of the population have we to think of first.
Yeah.
Should have thought first of the poor people, 90% of them in the countryside. We should have invested a lot in farm to market roads and so on.
Yeah.
Let me illustrate that with a very
Sure.
current story.
Sure.
Just 15 years ago, I accompanied a group of Philippine executives to Ho Chi Minh. We wanted to know what they are doing that we might be missing.
Sure.
So when we arrived at Ho Chi Minh, just 15 to 20 years ago, Vietnam was still a third world country, having recovered from the American War. And when we descended in the city, these executives were so condescending. "Huh, what kind of a city this is? There's no Makati here, you know. This looks like General Santos. What kind of a capital do they have
Yeah.
here?"
Yeah.
Now, our hosts invited us to travel to the Lang. Wow. At that time, their highways were 6 lanes each. You know, fantastic infrastructures.
Danang. Yeah.
In that anything that leads to the countryside.
Sure.
So
This was 15 years ago.
50 years ago.
Okay.
So you saw the priority that the Vietnamese had.
Yeah.
Develop first the countryside, the farmers, before you start favoring those urban dwellers. We did the opposite.
Sure.
And even today, but although I must admit that we've done already quite a lot in improving our countryside.
Yeah.
But that story explains why Vietnam surpassed us as a upper middle income economy 3 years ago. And Vietnam is now going way ahead of us. So they had the right priority. Countryside agriculture first before you start developing the urban area.
But it's not necessarily an either or, right? I mean, you could do both at the same time.
Well, but that's economics. You were asking me economics is the allocation of scarce resources
Yeah, that's right.
among competing demands. And when you have competing demands, prefer first what will address poverty. We did not do that.
Okay. Okay.
So, and but if I must say what is the best thing that President BBM has done, it is to make food security the number one priority, and it's showing. Last year was the most disastrous year as GDP wise. We grew at 4.4%.
Yes.
The worst in 15 years. Taking away the pandemic. The pandemic was an abnormal period.
Yeah.
But over the last 15 years, we were growing at 6 to 7%.
Yeah.
And suddenly 4.4 in a normal time. But the bright spot was agriculture grew at 3.1% after growing at 0 to 1% for the last 10 years. So it's showing the priority given to food security is actually coming out with favorable results.
Yeah.
And it's showing that the present Secretary for Agriculture is the right person,
Yeah. Yeah.
Francisco Chu Laurel. And I'm sure they will continue to show that it is possible to sustain that 3%. Why is 3% a magic figure? Because if you study the history of Vietnam and Thailand, the two best performers in agriculture over the last 20 years, their average growth in agriculture is 3 to 4%.
What was that? Vietnam and
Thailand.
Thailand.
Thailand is the best model
Yeah.
for agricultural countries today.
Okay. You know,
So,
maybe based on your analysis, I mean, you mentioned, GDP growth was 4.4%. There's water here, by the way, so
That's
feel free to drink
okay,
anytime.
I can
Yeah.
drink
So GDP was 4.4%, but agriculture grew 3.1% versus a historic 0 to 1% in the last decades. What did the current administration or the Secretary of Agriculture do correctly that spurred that 3%?
well, they're giving now services to our small farmers, and that's why crops are growing faster that we denied them in the past. If there's one mistake in the field of agriculture we made, it was implementing a necessary agrarian reform program that was necessary for social justice. All of our neighbors did it. Taiwan, Thailand, Vietnam.
Yeah.
In fact, in our trip to Vietnam recently,
Sure.
we found out that the average size of a farm in Vietnam is less than 1 hectare. Yeah. So it means that they did also a thorough agrarian reform program.
Yeah.
But what Thailand, first of all, Taiwan was the first
Yeah.
to do a very effective agrarian reform program. And Thailand followed Vietnam. What they did was split the land into small portions, but followed through immediately with all the services that the small farmers needed
Like what?
to make a living. As I said, farm to market roads, irrigation systems, post harvest facilities, credit to them. Do you know what our government did? And I'll say it in Tagalog. So they gave each farmer 1 to 2 hectares
Yeah.
and then told them, "Diyan na kayo, kanin niyo ang lupa." That's exactly what they told.
Yeah.
And that still shows a lot of the small farmers actually became poorer because before, when they had a landlord, the landlord was giving them the fertilizers,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
seeds, etc. So the mistake was not carp. The mistake was not following through
Yeah.
carp.
So for those not familiar, CARP, and Doc, feel free to correct me, Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program, right?
Yes.
That's the program that
Split the farms into
mandates that,
Yeah.
land
All
should
large.
only be, I think 5 hectares max. Is that right?
small. Yeah.
Something around that number.
But you know what the average now is after splitting?
Sure.
The average Filipino farm is right now 0.8 hectares.
So
Less than one.
even harder to consolidate.
So
Yeah.
if you don't consolidate them and give them a lot of help, what can you do with 0.8 hectares?
Yeah, yeah. I hear, at least from my friends who do work or who are in the agriculture sector, a lot of the farmers they want to sell back whatever land they have because they don't have the resources, nor do we have the infrastructure to support to cultivate this land. So it becomes idle land,
Correct.
unproductive land.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, irrigation systems, farm to market roads would be key. Aftermarket
Logistics.
logistics,
especially.
sure.
Yeah.
I also noticed, I don't know, is it also because of the demand? I don't know, Doc, maybe I'm oversimplifying things. Pero pansin ko kasi, Thailand, Vietnam, ang dami din nila kumain ng gulay eh. And fruits. Like, in when you go to Thailand, a fruit in a cup, it's like in every street corner.
Yeah.
Half of the plate sa isang Thai dish is stir-fried vegetables. Di ba? Sa Philippines, wala masyadong veggies. In fact, I was telling some friends na sa Pilipinas, yung gulay lang sa plato mo, usually, 3 pipino or cucumber na garnish lang sa gilid. Tapos, hindi pa kinakain ng Pilipino yon, di ba?
No, Jolo, it's a matter of precisely supply.
Is it supply
Yes,
piece? Okay.
if there is enough supply, we have enough tradition in vegetables, especially in locos, etc. Because vegetables are too expensive. Remember a time when during the pandemic,
Yeah.
onions were selling for 1,000 pesos a kilo, tomatoes. So it's supply. There's not enough supply.
You think it's a supply thing?
It is a supply thing.
Okay.
Vegetables are very expensive.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I always thought it was a demand thing as well.
No. I mean, Filipinos can adjust to supplies. We have so many types of dishes that can be cooked with vegetables.
Kasi isip ko lang, pag gulay, pinakbit.
Yeah.
Of course, sinigang.
And then salad. I mean, the
Chop suey,
And remember,
salad. Yeah.
as people graduate from low income to low middle income, their food will become more sophisticated.
Yeah.
And that means they would be eating a lot more fresh vegetables and so on and so forth.
Okay. So it's in terms of price. I mean, if we say vegetables are too expensive, any
Right,
chance
yes.
in terms of ratio or in terms of index, how are vegetables compared to our Southeast Asian neighbors? Any chance you're familiar?
Much more expensive. There are so many studies
Yeah.
of our vegetable prices.
Like how many
compared-
percent?
Yeah. Oh, probably 50% more.
50%.
expensive. Yes, 50%.
Okay.
Expensive.
So and usually, 'di ba, pag sinasabi nila for those in the yung poorest of the poor, 'di ba? Usually ang pagkain din diyan, 'di ba, sinasabi nila gulay pati isda, 'di ba?
Yeah.
Pero mahal pa din pala tong
Yes,
gulay
oh,
mismo.
definitely. Because even if you're able to produce them productively in the mountain province, 30% of their brought, and by the time they reach the market, logistics costs are so high that they're very expensive.
Yeah, inefficient
Yeah.
logistics, I guess.
And again,
Yeah.
because of lack of farm-to-market roads,
Sure.
lack of services, etc.
Sure.
So,
Okay. So baka pag nag-improve yung supply, baka hindi na 3 yung cucumber
Oh, definitely.
sa garnish, baka
I'm
6 na siguro.
I'm sure.
Or may salad
Correct.
na libre.
A lot of Filipinos are so creative in producing all types of menus.
Okay.
If the raw materials are relatively inexpensive, they'll develop the most juicy types of vegetables. No?
Interesting. And when it comes to food security or you mentioned that was something we were also quite good at. Maybe what was the framework that changed that helped improve it in the past couple of years?
It's better infrastructure,
Okay.
especially improve, and then some of the private people, especially NGOs, helping out really the small farmers. For example, one of the persons you should invite here is the entrepreneur who started Mayani.
Mayani, yeah.
Mayani?
Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah.
Because that's an example of what the private sector can do through a social enterprise
Yeah.
to help the small farmers really get more value. So by a simple equipping them with a smartphone
Yeah.
that provides them every day
Yeah.
the price of their commodity in the retail market,
Yeah.
they have been able to increase their income
Yeah.
because they were no longer deceived by the middlemen
Yeah.
in terms of pricing. So just that alone. But now, Mayani is no longer just informational.
Yeah.
It's logistics. They're
Yeah.
now saying farm to table.
Yeah.
So they're helping the farmers actually bring. So these types of
Innovations,
initiatives, yeah.
yeah.
And there are a lot of young people who can make money and at the same time helping the poor. No.
Yeah, I was just chatting with Jeff yesterday, actually.
then you
so
can-
I'll be having him next month, I believe.
Good. No.
Yeah.
He would be a good model to replicate all over the country.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think especially with the tech, right? Leveraging on tech,
Yes.
and connectivity. I think if I understood correctly, just the information and the awareness of the farmers in terms of the end market price already shifts their share of integrated margin in the value chain, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't negotiate for something which you don't know, right? Now all of a sudden with that level of information, knowing what the end market price is,
Correct, yeah.
when a trader comes to a farmer, they are equipped with enough data to at least get a
And
better deal.
instant information.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, it's democratized if we can call it that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you're asking me about what can be done in the present situation to address the problem of growth, though.
Sure.
So as I said, over the last 40 years, fortunately, some of the best and the brightest of our professionals were always there, even with the worst politicians, to run our economy. Whether it's central bank, as I said, we have the best central bank system in Southeast Asia.
Until now,
Until now, yes.
Yeah.
It's still the record.
in terms of what matrices, maybe for
Metrics
everyone's
controlling
appreciation.
inflation, which is the number one. I was just reading, probably something we can address later on, how we can fall into the middle income trap, which all Latin American countries fell into. And that is a danger because now becoming middle income, you might follow the Latin American model.
What's the middle income trap?
You reach middle income, then you don't graduate to high income.
Okay.
And you even deteriorate.
Right now we're what? Low income?
No, we're now upper middle income.
We're upper middle income already.
At this
Okay.
very stage, no?
Okay. Sorry, I don't know anything about these,
Yeah,
these things.
the World Bank registers $4,500 as a threshold to graduate from low middle income, which we have been now for more than 10 years,
Yeah.
to upper middle income.
Yeah.
And then from $4,500 to about $15,000, that's a journey towards high income. So the moment we reach $15,000 per capita, we would be already considered a first world country. which we expect to attain by 2040, 2050 if ambition natin 2040 is attained. I'm sure you've heard of the ambition natin 2040.
Please do share.
Okay. So that's one thing that you have to ask someone from the government to explain. 5 years ago, NEDA prepared a document called Ambition Natin 2040.
Okay.
By that decade, according to the projection of NEDA, we will be already a first world country.
2040.
2040, 2050.
Okay.
a
I'll,
first
I'll
world
be how
country.
old by then? Maybe. Yeah.
I'll tell you a joke later on about that. But
Sure.
so,
I'll be 50.
but we may not attain that if we fall into the trap that practically all Latin American countries fell into. Latin American countries reached middle income 20 years ago.
Yeah. What happened?
Precisely. They completely mismanaged both their monetary and fiscal situation. Do you know that average inflation rates in some of these countries like Argentina, Vietnam, reached 10,000, 15,000 percent a year?
Argentina.
Unbelievable. Yes, Argentina.
Even Vietnam.
Venezuela.
Oh, Venezuela,
No,
not
Latin
Vietnam.
American.
Oh,
No.
okay.
Southeast Asian countries are so...
I think I misheard.
Yeah.
So Latin
Venezuela.
American countries. Venezuela.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Anywhere
Venezuela.
from
I hear.
20,000, one of them even reached 1 million. Because they just printed money galore.
Yeah.
They did not control their fiscal deficit. Now, that can happen to us, but the probability is very low. Why? Because over the last 40 years,
Yeah.
despite very imperfect political leaders, we always had a big pool of the best and the brightest to run our economic agencies. I'm sure you can rattle
Sure.
off all the names. Joey Quisha, Dr. Isanasis, Ramon Del Rosario, practically everyone that has risen in their profession was part of one government or another, no?
Yeah. So basta pala, kahit corrupt pala yung mga nasa government.
Corrupt or inefficient. Because
Corrupt
i-
or
i-
inefficient
yeah.
people in government,
Yeah.
as long as the people in
In-
BSP,
in-
NEDA, DTI
yes.
are the best and the brightest, we're safe.
Yeah, that we are introducing exactly what the book called Why Nations Fail would require for progress, which is building institutions
Yeah.
and correcting economic errors.
Okay.
And all these best bright people, they did that over a period of 40 years. Now, the comparison is our neighbors did that in 20 years. But
Okay.
let's not cry over spilled milk.
It's water
We're
under the
already-
bridge. Yeah.
We're already in the right area. So 6 to 7%, if we don't have those extreme cases of corruption, is guaranteed whoever occupies Malacanang. Because the institutions and the right economic policies will take care of that.
Yeah.
Because precisely the institutions are there, and we always will find the best and the brightest in any generation.
Yeah.
Because that's our good thing. We have developed a big pool of people, and I'm not saying that you have to go to Harvard or Wharton or to have good people, but we have developed this pool of very good people that can run. So, but 6 to 7% is not sufficient
Yeah.
to address the scandal of Philippine poverty.
67% GDP growth, you mean?
The LGBT
Okay.
It's not sufficient.
Okay.
Because we have the worst poverty incidence in Southeast Asia. At 16%, that means 20 million Filipinos going to bed hungry every day. And we cannot tolerate that. You know what Malaysia is? 0%. What Vietnam is? 3%. What Thailand is? 2%.
So we're like times 5
But times 5. Our
of
poverty.
poverty
Yeah.
rate with our
So-
neighbors.
The challenge to any president now is not to be satisfied with what can be delivered by the institutions themselves.
Yeah.
Is to make a difference by accelerating the
Yeah.
growth rate to 8.
Okay. Do you think definitely there's a correlation there in terms of corruption, right?
I'm going to touch that.
Yeah. So
What are the challenges to BBM
yeah.
to be able to accelerate that 6 to 7% to 8%? And I hope we can still see that before he leaves.
Yeah.
Number one, I rate him at least an A minus, food security. So he must grow agriculture at 3 to 4%,
Which is doing already, run rate wise.
which is already accomplishing.
Yeah.
In the other two, he's failing miserably. He has to bring in FDIs, foreign investments,
Yeah.
to the tune of 15 to $20 billion a year.
At the moment, how much are we bringing in? 8.
8 to 9.
So we need to double,
Yeah.
triple it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Our best time was, believe it or not, during the Duterte administration
Yeah.
at 12 billion. No? So which means that the best and brightest that he got, people like Sally Dominguez and company, were doing their job.
Yeah.
So it's another example
Yeah.
of an imperfect political leader getting the best and brightest and accomplishing
Sure.
certain things. Nor did I pick 15 to $20 billion. I didn't pick it.
Did you
from
say
thin air.
20 billion?
Yeah, 15 to 20, that range.
Yeah, 15 to 20
Yeah.
billion
Billion.
dollars.
Where did I get that? That was the average that Vietnam got over a period of 10 years.
10 years of 15 to 20 billion foreign direct investments.
Do you know what Vietnam got last year? 30 billion.
And then to our 8.
8. Right now, it's 8 billion.
And what's stopping foreign direct investments?
Well, that's the big challenge. Make sure that you red tape all the problems that foreigners encounter here when they invest will be addressed. You have all sorts of laws, ARTA, anti-money laundering.
Yeah.
They're not working yet.
Yeah.
People still complain. So
So the ease of doing business in the Philippines. Yeah.
that's exactly the word.
Yeah,
Ease
yeah.
of doing business. Has not be improved. You have to give Bong Bong A for effort because he is the one who's traveled to at least 40 different countries during his presidency, telling people to come here. But
Wala.
he hasn't followed through
Yeah,
by
yeah.
his people. So he's not accomplishing that yet.
Yeah.
So that's where he still has to do a lot. And I hope, and that's why I spend a lot of my time in road shows, because I know that the ones who will be able to convince people to come here are the ones in the private sector.
Yeah.
And we found that in our roadshow in Japan, in Spain. As long as we don't have government officials doing propaganda, we're there. We say, yes, there's corruption. Yeah, you will have a governor asking you for a bribe, etc., etc. We don't hide it. Now, if a government official is there, he will be embarrassed, no?
Yeah.
So that's why we make sure that
They don't join you.
they don't join us. But then we bring those foreign investors who already have been here for many years with us.
Yeah.
And then they want to say, yes, Dr. Villegas is right. But we've been in the Philippines, we know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
So as long as you have a private partner that will help you go through all these different things,
Yeah.
even corruption is not going to prevent you
Yeah.
from making a profit.
Yeah.
And that's a very important message that has to be delivered. Because practically every country, when you went to Spain last April, and then we were already alerting them, but you will find corruption. One of the Spaniards says, what's wrong with that? Here we have so much corruption also here in Spain.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, without offending our neighbors, practically all our neighbors have corruption except Singapore and probably Japan. Malaysia, they've sent their presidents to jail. Vietnam, a lady stole billions of dollars.
Yeah,
Who's
yeah.
now about to be executed.
Yeah.
Then I always, because a lot of people now are so familiar with South Korea because of the telenovelas.
Yes.
I don't know if you follow them.
No,
follow
I
them.
watched during the pandemic.
Yeah,
and
I follow them very closely.
Yeah.
And there's no plot that doesn't reveal
involved corruption.
military, soldiers,
Yeah, yeah.
fables,
Yeah,
president.
yeah.
So and Korea is first world, $40,000 per capita.
Yeah.
How could they have gotten to $40,000 if corruption is an obstacle? So, but I always tell people, I'm not encouraging corruption. I fight corruption with all my might, not for economic reasons. I fight corruption because it is injustice, it is an evil for us Christians, it is a mortal sin. I
Yeah.
fight. But I don't care whether or not it leads to economic development or not. No.
Yeah. I think I was talking to my sister about Korean films and because my sister's in the film industry, and then she said, and we were talking about Korean culture, and you're right. I mean, they always promote food honor, business, education, and then there's also that patriotism, in their action movies, right? And then you're right. There's always an element of corruption,
Yeah.
and the thing there is they're not afraid to show it in the actual films, but at the end of the day, it's always the good that triumphs,
Correct,
and the bad guys lose.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But they admit that they have not.
that they
read.
have that.
Yeah.
That's right.
And,
That's right.
And that reminds me of Dr. Islam. I'm sure he will. So in Saladaan, we had him speak about governance.
Sure.
In the audience was one of these young professionals, idealistic, etc.
Yeah, that was probably me maybe 15 years ago.
No,
But
no.
I'm still idealistic now. I'd like to think.
No,
but
no,
what happened?
That was recent. That was in the so-called crossroad conversations.
Yeah, yeah.
So this fellow says, Dr. Sislo, when can we eradicate corruption from this country?
Sure.
Just without blinking. I said, never. Because to eradicate corruption, we have to eradicate original sins.
Sure.
And there's no way of eradicating original sin.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there will be evil. And now let me tell you about my view about how to fight corruption.
Sure.
There are some necessary measures, like doing something about family dynasties. I don't know how it will finally, but do something in that area. Improve the different institutions, ombudsman, Supreme Court. Those are completely necessary. If we don't improve those, corruption will be a major problem.
Sure.
But even if we're able to put up all those institutions and make those reforms, corruption will still be a problem until we have, and this is what Jess also said, a critical mass of Filipino citizens who are civic-minded enough to always think of the common good of society.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the Philippines does not have that critical mass. Filipinos, each one of them has his own dynasty. He complains about dynasty. Each one of us has our extended family system, our cousins.
Yeah.
But to hell with the country. That's not a virtue that we ordinarily have, civic-mindedness. And the countries that are models
Yeah.
are Japan and Singapore. And how did Japan arrive at that situation? If you take a look at Japanese society, it goes towards the first years of child rearing. Their first years of schooling have nothing to do with academics. It's cleaning toilets, cleaning backyards with their parents.
Yeah.
It's always doing things for the good of the team. So that's the mentality of the Japanese. And I'm sure you will remember if you are a football enthusiast. In the last World Cup, it was so noticeable. Every time the Japanese would watch a Japanese game, after the game, all the rest would disappear. Each Japanese would go around the bleachers, cleaning, taking
That's right.
all the dirt.
I read a couple of news articles about
That's the
that.
mentality. I saw it with my own eyes. No?
Yeah.
And you go to Japan right now, because it's now a tourism site, in any public place, not a single litter you will find.
Sure.
Now that has happened spontaneously. The
Yeah.
Japanese are not, better human beings than we. It's child rearing practice. And so that's why we're now trying to work with Secretary Angara, how to really
Secretary of Education, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
How to input that in our public schools. How to make sure that very early in kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, we have the Japanese
Yeah.
system. And it is proven by Singapore. When Lee Kuan Yew took over in the 1960s, the Singapore was as lazy, as corrupt, as disorderly as we Filipinos.
Yeah.
How are they now the best in behavior? Because Lee Kuan Yew said, we will transplant the Japanese system here. And that's exactly what Singaporeans did. And now Singapore
Yeah.
also has the lowest rate of corruption in Asia.
Yeah.
So that's, as an educator now, that's what I want. Parents especially to realize that system requires parents and the school to work together. I know what Parents for Education Foundation is doing. You're very familiar with that. It's a drop in the ocean
Sure.
because it's among very
Sure.
few people. But if we can introduce that
Yeah.
to our public school system,
Yeah.
who knows, 20 years from now,
Yeah.
we will have a Japanese type of society.
I remember reading something similar about how Mayor Giuliani of New York curbed crime and helped solve the issues of, was it 80s New York. It was the broken window theory,
Correct, correct, correct.
where if there's a broken window, that's already a sign of
Correct.
petty crime.
Yeah.
And when there's that sign, it encourages bigger crimes, and then it devaluates the
Exactly.
whole location.
When,
So
when you get used to
Yeah.
it, and that's where we have to start very young and involve the parents.
yeah.
Because if the parents are not involved, whatever teachers do will not really inculcate those virtues.
That's why he wanted to make sure that no broken windows, sort out the little things. I think it's the same rhetoric with what you were saying about the Japanese
Yeah.
children, at a very early age,
Yeah.
picking up litter, making sure that the desks are aligned
Correct,
in the classroom,
Yeah.
taking off your shoes, right?
But always thinking that what I'm doing is promoting the common good. They have to relate it
Yeah.
to serving the others. One thing that our educational expert Paul Dubal realized, there is not a Tagalog word for common good. So we don't have the concept of the common good.
Common good.
You can invite.
Ano ba
You-
sa
you can
Tagalog
invent.
yun?
Ang kabutihan ng karamihan, but precisely,
Yeah.
it is it is something artificial.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
And I mean, it's quite hard though, especially now when, you're trying to do these little things, and yet in the news you see all these big scandals, right?
yeah, but definitely it has to start in the family.
Maybe going back, Doc, in terms of foreign direct investments, right? You said 20 to 30 billion dollars is a good,
No, 15 to 20.
sorry, 15 to 20 dollars is a good target
Every year, yeah.
every year, because that's what Vietnam had. Philippines were still at 8 levels,
8 to 10 right
8 to
now.
10 billion dollars, yeah.
Our highest was 12.
Highest was 12. So you mentioned ease of doing business and red tape and the bureaucracy. Of course, for a corporation or an investor, you're already losing money before you even start your business, just because of the overall cost of business lost by the bureaucracy and the difficulty in setting things up. Apart from that, are there any policy limitations? Because I understand foreign ownership is also quite a
Glad you
limitation.
mentioned that.
Yeah, if that's fine.
To remove from
Yeah.
them what, as I said, became conventional wisdom, we prefer a Philippines run like hell by Filipinos. So
So you were against it already.
I believe it or not, I was the chair of the National Economic Committee. But as chairman, I was outvoted by all the members.
You didn't
First
have
in the
veto power.
No, I could not. Because even in my own committee, I couldn't convene.
Yeah.
And then you bring it to the assembly, whether it's left, middle, or right, priest, nuns, or none, they all had the mentality. those
Filipinos
foreigners-
first for the Philippines.
Filipino first. And so they put the limit of 40%
Yeah.
equity.
Maybe I think this is a good segue to the 1987 Constitution. So for those listening, Dr. Bernie Villegas was actually one of the framers of the current Constitution, the 1987 Constitution that was formed, I think, right after martial law at that time. And you were chair of the National Economic Committee. Maybe care to share, Doc, how were you selected? What was the process like? And I think you already alluded to some of the things you wanted changed, or you were pushing for that didn't push through in that constitution. You want to talk a bit about that? Maybe let's start first with what was happening during that time, and maybe how were you selected?
Well, first of all, I'm sure the people close to Cory had a list of individuals in the various fields of society, educators, religious, because we had priests and nuns, then lawyers.
Sure.
They had categories. And they chose us on the basis of how Cory saw we were part of helping her in the Edsa Revolution.
How did you feel when they told you, Dr. Bernie Villegas, we want you to join us craft the Constitution for the Philippines. I'm sure you were like, wow, can I actually do this, or why me, or
No,
great?
well, first of all, you have to go before to what happened before the
Sure.
revolution.
Sure.
We at CRC were partly responsible for launching Cory's candidacy. So I don't know if you remember a very famous journalist by the name of Joe Romero.
Uh-huh.
He was business editor of the Bulletin at that time,
Sure.
and you had Jimmy Ongpin. So we were a group of people, not directly yet related to Makati Business Club,
Sure.
but remember, the Makati Business Club was started in 1981. Probably it's worth talking about the Makati Business Club.
Sure.
It was a group of business people, which included Enrique Sobel, who thought that we need a society of business people, apart from the existing chambers of commerce,
Sure.
that would always advocate for what is good for society, even if it goes against business interest. So that's the difference between a chamber that legitimately defends the interest of business
Sure.
in conversation with labor, in conversation with government. So you need, but we said, let's now think of how business people can think beyond
Yeah.
their profit interest.
So I think not everyone is familiar with the Makati Business Club.
Yeah.
So the Makati Business Club, as I know it now, is,
Yes.
and of course you co-founded it, I think, with Enrique
with-
Zobel and
Jimmy Ongpin,
Jimmy Ongpin,
at that time Joey Quisha.
Joey Quisha. Yeah. It's a non-profit organization
of
that
business people, yes.
that advocates for
Certain policies and causes which promote the good of the entire society, even if that cause goes against the profitability
Sure.
of business.
And
So
this
that's
was
it.
1981.
1981.
Yeah, and this helped. How does this relate to Cory's candidacy
Wait.
and CRC?
Yeah. Wait. So then we met, and there were a number of things that we were discussing.
Yeah.
At some point of time, a few of us, not necessarily everyone. In fact, Enrique Sobel did not agree with us because he was very close to the Marcos administration at that time. Said, well, one of the things that we have to try to do is find out how eventually we can dismantle martial law, because that's not good for Philippine society. And then we started looking for possible alternative leaders. And the assassination
Yeah.
of Ninoy Aquino happened. And so it was clear some people were looking at Cory as a possibility.
Sure.
So, but Cory at the time was an unknown housewife.
Yeah.
So I said, what do we do to be able to get Cory to international attention?
Sure.
Because you need first the support, especially of the Americans.
Sure.
So we started bringing her to seminars outside of the Philippines. So we had a seminar in Singapore where we had a lot of foreign journalists, etc. And that's where she started speaking as a possible presidential. So that means I was already close to her even before she even started rallying together with Joe Romero, together with Jimmy Ongpin.
Yeah.
That's why these people played an important role when she became president.
Sure.
And so I wasn't surprised that she would ask me to be the economist
Yeah.
in the Constitutional Commission.
Sure.
So I was the only economist there, actually.
Really.
All the others, of course,
Yeah.
understood economics, but the others represented law,
Yeah.
social sciences, political
Yeah.
science. And then we also made sure that there was a variety of religions. There were Muslims, there were several Muslims, and representation from different regions.
Yeah.
So it was a mix of different sectors.
Subject matter experts.
There were 50 of us.
Sure.
We even had some leftists,
Yeah.
even some people who called themselves communists. No?
Sure.
I don't know if you remember the word G.B. Tadeo. He was
Sure.
self-declared communist. No?
Yeah. Doc, maybe we'll pause here first. We'll have to take a quick break.
Sige.
And then let's continue the conversation.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So, Doc, before the break, we were talking about how you joined President Cory Aquino then in some seminars and international, I guess, engagements, right, with policymakers, media, etc. Uh, and then that's why she tapped you, among others, to be part of the Constitutional Convention at that time,
Commission.
or Constitutional Commission rather. What was that like? I mean, at that moment, or maybe at the very first meeting, where was it held? You said there were 50 of you, right, of different backgrounds and maybe political ideologies, left, right, center, uh, Catholic, Muslim, economists,
Protestants also.
Protestants, yeah, pro-admin, maybe anti-admin.
No, all of them were definitely
Pro-admin,
pro-admin.
at
Yes.
that time.
Yeah, of course.
So what was that like? Maybe what was the first meeting like? And maybe entering that room, how old were you then? And then did you ever feel that, that the next couple of meetings would be crucial to the future of the Philippines? How did you take it in?
So that was 1986. Let's say, I was born 1939. So 37?
Yeah.
37, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all the meetings were held in the Batasan, in the Quezon City. That was the legislature at the time. And, well, obviously, we had time to, first of all, get to know one another, get to know the background, philosophy of each one. So I would say that there was the so-called Rainbow Coalition. So from right to center to left. As I said, there were some self-declared communists, leftists, etc. So we had room for all the ideologies. No? And so now the general mood was because I don't include myself, most of them were traumatized by what happened during the Marcos administration. And it was on top of their mind. So let's put into this document as many things as we can that will prevent the comeback of a dictator. And so, generally, I thought, and a good number of people agree with me now, that we put in the Constitution too many provisions that should actually be legislated rather than contained in the fundamental law of the land. The fundamental law of the land should be just brief, concise, and limited to truths that are unchanging, like the fundamental rights of human beings. And that's why I gave more importance to my role as someone with a strong philosophy, general education background than to my role as an economist. And I was very glad that the chairperson was a former justice of the Supreme Court, the first woman to be in our Supreme Court, Cecilia Muñoz Palma, who had the same idea, very strongly rooted in especially Christian doctrine. So I considered, together with her and a few others, that it was more important for us to work on the Declaration of Principles. What are the human rights, which will never change? I mean, those are
Sure.
things that are based on human nature. And so I'm very proud of the fact that together with Chairperson Cecilia Muñoz Palma, who passed away, we were able to put a provision that is unique in the world, anti-abortion. That from the moment of conception, the state shall protect the fertilized ovum as well as the mother. And so, which means that there will never be a law that will declare abortion legal because it will be unconstitutional. And so that's a provision that I'm so afraid might be amended with a cha-cha.
Sure.
And that's why I'm split sometimes when I hear a lot of people calling for cha-cha, because I want a lot of the legal provisions removed So I'm in favor of a cha-cha.
You're in
But
favor.
on the other hand, I just have to make sure that there will be enough guarantee that those fundamental truths are not going to be removed.
Sure.
And the other is that marriage is an inviolable institution, which means divorce will be illegal. And the one most responsible for that was Cecilia Munoz Palma. So, and then, of course, the statement that the family is the foundation of society.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you remember all of this from
course,
your
of course.
courses. No? So those are declarations in our constitution that you don't find in practically all the constitutions of the world. And we're very proud of the fact that the constitution was clearly and publicly influenced by Catholic social doctrine,
Sure.
encyclicals. Now, as I said, so many other parts of the Constitution are imperfect. They contain too many things. Like, for example, I would like, now that you ask me, can foreigners invest in the Philippines? Yes, in practically 90% of what they want. They can own airports 100%, they can own railroads 100%, they can own all the strategic facilities, which was a very clever thing that was done during the Duterte administration. So a lot of good things happened during the administration because, as I said, he had some of the best and the brightest helping him with the economy.
And this was the time that you mentioned where FDIs reached $12 billion.
That's right. That's right.
A
And,
high.
how did that happen?
Yeah.
Just a simple redefinition of public utilities. So in the past, they said the government prohibits any foreign investment more than 40% in public utilities. So it means they cannot own more than 40% of airports, 40% of skyways. But then during the time of Duterte, there was a group of legal experts who said, let's just pass a law called the Public Services Law, which redefines public utilities. So from now on, public utilities is defined as public services, and they do not include airports, skyways. They only include distribution of electricity
Sure.
and distribution of water.
Okay.
So those are the areas that are still close to more than 40%.
And how were airports and all these other roads,
They're called public services.
public services?
Yeah,
So,
so
public services and utilities were separated from
Yeah.
each other.
And now
Understand.
foreigners can own 100% of public services as
Okay.
is happening, little by little. But usually foreigners also, if they're wise, will always want some Filipino participation, but not limited to
Yeah.
40%. No?
I
In
mean, they do need someone familiar with the local business environment,
Yes, definitely.
running the business in the Filipino way.
Exactly.
And also de-risking them of,
Yes,
and their equity.
exactly.
Yeah.
But they want control because the most scandalous case was the Manila International Airport. When one of the best airport companies in the world, Fraport from Germany, was forced to have Filipino partners who controlled 60%.
Yeah.
And that group, as you know, was corrupt. And
Sure.
the whole thing. That's why for a long time, the Germans still remember that. And it's only little by little now that they're beginning to invest in the Philippines.
Also, did they initially own the international airport, the Germans?
The Germans, they own 40%
Okay.
with 60%. And 60% was the wrong partner. No?
Okay.
So that's why we were still too young. It took more than 10 years for the airport to be finally built. No?
Okay.
So it gave a very bad name to the Philippines in Germany.
Okay.
In the same way that the kidnapping of a Mitsui executive gave a very bad name to us for a long time in Japan. But they've overcome that
Yeah.
memory now.
So just hearing the sharing, you think that foreign direct investment limitation. So I think it's clear in terms of the Constitution, the right to life of the unborn family as the
Yeah.
most important social institution. Marriage, of course, being inviolable. I think those are some of the constitutional maybe provisions that you're quite proud of from a fundamental law of the land perspective. But you said we were also a bit too prescriptive
On many
and,
other
and
things.
legalistic on other things because
yeah,
of
like the local government, what can they do?
Sure.
How the government will share their tax from the national to local. All these details,
sure.
they're changeable because
Should be.
circumstances.
Yeah.
Circumstances change, and but
Okay.
some of them are literally written in stone.
Yeah.
And that's why
Yeah.
we have to amend those provisions.
Sure.
And as we're saying right now, they're actually now passing a law about family dynasties that fortunately we did not legalize, so to speak, in the Constitution.
Okay.
Otherwise, it would have been enshrined in stone, and we will not be able to change whether it's
Yeah.
first degree of consanguinity,
Yeah.
second degree of consanguinity, etc.
Yeah.
etc. All these are circumstantial. no?
Yeah. It's funny because, or amusing rather, that that the whole Constitution was made right after martial law. Hence, a lot of the trauma or the baggage from that experience conditioned
Yeah.
the framers of the
Yeah.
Constitution.
Yeah.
And the simple human truth, right? It's best that we first calm down before we say anything.
Correct.
Before we commit to it. Never commit to anything when you're happy.
emotional. Yeah, that's correct.
Right?
That's right.
Never say something when you're angry.
Correct.
Right?
But
Us as a nation, we were actually still recovering from the trauma of martial
Of
law.
kicking
And
out
yet
the dictator, yeah.
right after, we decided to come up with our law of the land.
Yeah. But to be fair, Cory was caught between the devil and the blue sea. She was being pressured, hey, you cannot rule as a dictator yourself, no? Because
Sure.
there is no constitution. So you better have a constitution. So she had to really put together a constitution.
Okay.
But now that from hindsight, we see that it is not the perfect constitution, definitely an amendment process is needed. So I would be open to sometime, probably in the next administration, where we vote for who will be the representatives, etc. But not influence like Marcos, the dictator, influenced
Yeah.
the parliamentary system. Remember, he had his own constitutional convention,
Yeah.
and all of them were actually influenced by Marcos.
Sure.
That was the first time that people talked about bags of money.
Yeah. In terms of the process, are you familiar? Although this is probably a bit more legal, right? The Congress needs to vote, right? That a con needs to take place.
Amendment, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to pass a measure saying that we should amend the constitution.
Yeah, and that'll take a lot of political will, and
Yeah, yeah.
looking at the current pool, I'm not sure that's something.
Yeah. Well,
You
again, hope
we-
spring is eternal. I hope the next Congress
Sure.
will have a lot of people from the new generation. No, I see more and more Vito Soto.
Vico, yeah.
Probably I'm overly optimistic, no?
I mean,
Joel Garcia,
Yeah,
some
yeah.
of the people you know, no?
yeah,
Even some of these young heads of departments, si Kiko Benitez,
Yeah.
si Vince Dizon.
Yeah.
So this generation gives me hope. So,
I mean, we got to be hopeful, right?
yeah, of course. On the basis of facts, not only whistling in the dark.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And some of these new neophyte, if we call them, or maybe even just new personalities in the political space or public service space, are showing a bit of promise, and hopefully
Yeah.
they inspire more people
Yeah.
to continue and to contribute to that.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
So maybe just going back a bit, Doc. You shared a bit about how you were maybe against limiting foreign ownership, right? What was the temperature of the room at that moment when you said that the whole national committee was,
No, it was definitely against me.
Yeah.
Even as I was supposed to be the expert
Yeah.
economist, they didn't respect my expertise, and they said, no, we have to limit foreigners because precisely of this idea that among other reasons, the Marco Senior, to his credit, was very open
Yeah.
to foreigners. No?
So prior to that,
Yeah.
it was allowed.
It was allowed. Yes.
Okay.
There were so many ways of going around the limitations.
Okay.
And so Marcos was taking advantage.
Okay.
And that's why when
How big was the committee?
my committee was made up of 10 people.
10 people. So you were 11 people or 10 people, 11 people in the room, including yourself.
Correct.
And you were discussing
Yeah.
foreign ownership.
Yeah.
And then you said you think foreign ownership for public utilities
Yeah.
and certain
We
industries.
should remove the 40% limit.
Okay.
But they did not agree.
Okay.
And then even more when they brought it to the national, to the 50.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Any other, maybe among the other constitutional provisions or points, what were the other topics that was highly debated at that time?
The decentralization from national to local.
The framework in
Yeah,
terms of
so
decentralization.
how more and more here, I'm sure you remember from your philosophy course, the principle of subsidiarity.
Subsidiarity. Yeah.
The idea that a lot of things should really be decided at the local level.
Sure.
They shouldn't be dictated by the top.
So maybe for those not familiar, the principle of subsidiarity is
States that
Sure.
what can be decided by the lowest level of society, the family and community, should be left to them because they're closest to the problems, the solutions. They will be able to apply. It should not be dictated by an almighty power up there who knows very little about what's happening.
in short, don't micromanage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In short, don't have a socialist government
Yeah.
where everything stops.
Or maybe
begins at the
in
top.
corporate terms, you glocalize, right? Global policies and strategies should always be localized based on the local customer base and local market requirements.
Exactly. And that's supposed to be the case. But right now, probably you've heard of the big debate still about the Bandanas Garcia bill, no? There was already a bill saying that national government should bring down to the governors and mayors trillions of pesos that are being decided by the national government to the level of the LGUs. And so they should distribute tax money to the LGUs. That's not being implemented yet. No? National government still keeps a lot of what they should be giving to the LGUs.
So it's still a bill at the moment.
No, it was passed already.
Oh, it's already a law.
Yeah, it's already a law.
Mandanas Garcia law.
Yeah.
The Governor
Exactly.
Dodo of
Yeah.
Batangas.
Governor and the father of Joet.
Joet Garcia. Bataan.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so, but the national government all these years has been so reluctant.
Yeah.
But I think this year it will be actually implemented finally.
Okay. And what does this law imply exactly?
It implies that there's a portion of what the government collects from taxes that should be allotted to the various mayors and governors. That they should be the one to do the spending, not the national government.
Okay, so essentially more
Decentralization.
taxes locally. Yeah.
Not revenues, not taxes. So what revenues the national government collects, part of that should not be spent by national government agencies, but should be devolved to the LGUs. They're the ones who should decide to allocate.
Around how many percent increase is that for the local? Would you be familiar? Maybe not
No,
too much.
I don't know, but in amounts, they're trillions.
Trillions of
2 to 3
pesos.
trillion, yeah.
Okay, that's good. But maybe if I can challenge a bit of that though, one of the challenges in terms of ease of doing business is precisely also decentralization. I think it adds to the red tape.
Yeah.
May barangay permit ka na, may city
yeah.
permit ka
Yeah,
na,
well,
may
That's again the balancing act, no?
yeah,
Yeah. There are
provincial
definitely-
permit ka na.
If you have a very good governor like Dodo Mandaras, Batangas,
Yeah.
you can do a lot of things. But
Yeah.
if some of them are not as equality,
Yeah.
so it's always
There's a trade-off.
It's a trade-off.
Yeah,
That's right.
because every time at least when you talk business or you talk industry, permitting is always a challenge. And then when there's a national policy, uh, implementation locally varies, right? And then all of a sudden, on each city, you have different permits, new fees introduced year on year.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because precisely of decentralization, where each barangay, each mayor has the power to introduce these new things, which complicates or adds complexity to doing business. If you're used to doing business in city A, when you transfer to city B, it's a whole different thing.
No.
Fees are different. Permitting process lead times are different.
Yeah.
So unlike, let's say, a Singapore, although of course it's a super small country, there's just one policy for the whole country, right? When it comes to maybe simple things like, let's say, permitting, maybe.
Yeah. No, it's recognized. So it's always a balancing act.
Yeah.
And that's why, just for your information, UNP,
Yeah.
your alma mater,
Sure.
put up a think tank called Center for Local Development, which will help mayors and governors improve whatever economic institutions they have.
Yeah.
The one heading that is Mayor Tila. You remember Mayor Tila?
Mayor.
Mayor Tila. He's
Oh,
a
Mayor
professor in
Tila.
political economy.
No,
for a
I
while.
don't know him.
Probably
Haven't had the
you're no longer
privilege.
there.
Yeah.
And so that's it. Long term, we have to make sure we have better quality.
Yeah. I guess it's a balancing act, right?
Exactly.
And we only really know what's best by trying things and then just doing that continuous improvement cycle,
Yeah.
right?
Well, right now, fortunately, because of the scandal, now it's the LGUs that will decide how to build classrooms.
Yeah,
Because at least that's one move in the right direction.
yeah. I think that's definitely a good development. I guess it's really a matter of selecting, who does what, right,
Exactly.
and who does what better,
Yeah.
right? Because
Well-
I remember there's also some stories about, developing an overhead bridge, and then all of a sudden, because it's to a different city,
Yeah.
the bridge was cut short, right?
Yeah.
Just because there's a different set of
Agree,
requirements.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Right now, this is a perfect example. Iloilo City
Sure.
is the most attractive for investors, both foreign and local, because more than 10 years ago, Senator Frank Drilon
Sure.
then asked all the LGUs around Iloilo City, let's get rid of the silo mentality. Let's all agree on a common infrastructure program so that we actually connect to one another.
Great.
And I don't know if you visited Iloilo
I have.
recently.
It's amazing.
Yeah, Iloilo is the best metro area you can find.
Yeah, the urban planning there is top
Exactly.
notch. Yeah.
And that was done with leadership. Fortunately, the mayors also listened. At the time, Jerry Treñas was mayor of Iloilo City, so he was part of the group that convinced. And we're trying to replicate the Iloilo model in other cities. Now, we're working on Baguio.
Okay.
Baguio's traffic is impossible.
Yeah.
If they can do the Iloilo model there. So little by little, we're seeing changes for the better.
Oh, good. I mean, yeah, and the thing is, learning from each other, having that dialogue, picking up best practice from one city, township, barangay, right,
Exactly.
province. It'll make things faster.
And speaking of the Makati Business Club,
Sure.
what Makati Business Club has done for the nation, we're now trying to do for the regions. So Iloilo Business Club was a clone of the Makati Business Club.
That's good.
And that cloning process is going on now.
Are they affiliated? Not officially.
necessarily. They have their
Yeah.
own articles of incorporation, they're independent, but they're learning from how Makati Business Club
That's good.
started. And
That's good.
So that's replicated in Cebu, in Davao, other areas. Not all are successful.
Yeah.
Now I'm working with the Baguio group. Hopefully, it will really follow more closely the Iloilo model.
Yeah.
So things are in the right direction.
Oh, it's exciting. Yeah. Keeps us hopeful, right?
Yeah.
For the Philippines.
Definitely.
Maybe just again, just to close that discussion on
Constitution.
Constitution. So foreign direct investments, the subsidiarity piece in terms of decentralization. Anything else or
Well, again, something in which I played a role, not because of me, but because of circumstances. There was a big, big debate on whether or not we should retain our bicameral presidential system or adopt the British Parliament.
really
Yeah.
that was discussed
That was
during the
discussed.
1987
1986, yes, yes.
86
Yeah,
Constitution.
because
Yeah,
there was a lot of debate on how more efficient the parliamentary system is because you mix the legislature with the executive. You don't
Yeah.
have to have all of this fighting, executive versus Congress.
Yeah.
And so that was debated, studied, and the final voting.
What was the split?
Precisely versus parliament versus presidential.
Yeah. What was the split in terms of the vote?
Well, that's the process. So they voted alphabetically. I was Villegas, the last one to vote.
Yeah.
So when it came to the member just before me,
Yeah.
it was Villacorta.
Sure.
He is professor of LaSalle. It was tied.
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 Okay. This was, you mean choosing between
With parliament and
a
presidential.
parliamentary or a presidential type of
Parliamentary and
government?
presidential, yeah.
It was a tie until the guy before you.
Yes.
And then?
And so they looked at me. What did I vote for? Obviously, I voted for presidential because now what was my reason? My reason was in the parliamentary form, you need real parties that have their ideology, the labor, conservative, etc. In this country, our parties are a joke.
They're all the same too, right?
And they butterfly from one party to another,
Yeah.
depending on who wins.
Yes.
And as I thought, this will be a sham. If a parliamentary form, if our parties don't change, you won't really have a British system.
Yeah.
You will have constant
Yeah.
change. So I said, despite its weaknesses, I will vote for the presidential. So
Wow.
it was me who voted, but not because I was important, but because
You were the last.
my name was Villegas. But you can be sure, probably in the next process of constitutional change, they will bring it up again.
Sure.
Now, up to now, we really haven't changed. Take a look at what happened.
Yeah, actually, the party list system, right? I mean, I think.
And even the party list system is imperfect. It was well-intentioned. We needed
Sure. Oh, yeah, it's
underprivileged-
different. It's different. Party list system is different from the
Different,
party.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
presidential versus parliamentary, I'm sure it will be brought up again.
Sure.
But nothing has changed.
Yeah,
Take
yeah.
a look at what happened to Bongbong and Sara in the same party, and now they are
Different
hitting
parties.
one another.
Yeah,
Someone even wanting to assassinate them.
I mean, the party list system, yes, it's different from the types
party
of
list
party
system-
system, but it's sort of related because the party list system, they're supposed to represent certain
Underprivileged group.
underprivileged group
Yeah,
or
yeah.
advocacy
So that was
groups, right?
Definitely well-intentioned.
Yeah.
Because there are always groups that will never succeed
Sure.
in a presidential system because
Sure.
they don't have the money,
Sure.
they don't have the necessary exposure.
Representation.
So
Yeah.
we said there must be a way that people
Yeah.
who are indigenous people, people who are handicapped, etc.,
Yeah.
they get representation
Yeah.
in the legislature.
Yeah.
But it became a joke
Yeah.
because now you have the richest ladies,
Yeah.
the richest people becoming party list members. No?
Yeah, yeah.
So how do we address that? I don't know. We might
Yeah. Interesting.
probably just define. I think we should define even more by legislation who really are underprivileged.
Sure.
Yeah, and that no one with a certain income
Yeah.
higher than this should run for party list. No.
Understand. Oh wow! I these are all new to me, and I'm learning so much from what actually transpired in the four walls of that room or that meeting. It was in Malacanang, was it? Or
No, the meeting was all in the Batasang Pambansa.
Batasang Pambansa?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, good. So, maybe now, well, we're here now, right? We're here. Uh, Philippines still a developing country. GDP is at the 4% level. Historically, it's been at 6-7%. Agriculture, as you shared, is improving at the 3% level.
Well, let me just complete what
Sure.
assignments we have given, so to speak, to
Sure.
BBM. I can really, literally say
Sure.
that as his former professor, I can give him assignments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he studied at JNP,
Yeah.
And way long ago, when he was still in Green Hills, I had occasion to tutor him, to prepare him for Oxford when his dad asked Jess and myself to be the tutors of the children. No? So, but that was long ago. No?
Yeah.
So, assignment, I already told you the first one, that he has to get agriculture growing, and he's doing that. Second, FDIs, 15 to 20 million. He's not succeeding yet. So, let's see what he can do between now. And the third one is obvious. Improve governance to the extent that we're able to minimize the leakages. Right now, I'm going to explain to you
Sure.
something very meaningful to you.
Sure.
You people are so happy when you are told that consumption is 70% of GDP and it's growing because you people are oriented towards the domestic market.
Sure.
That is good from the standpoint of growth of the existing industries. But that is very bad because that means that we are not saving enough. GDP is consumption plus saving. If consumption is too high, saving is very low. And we have the lowest savings rate in this part of the world. Do you know that the average savings
When you say
rate?
savings rate, savings of who exactly?
Saving of private households, corporations,
Okay.
government.
Okay.
So, and that is very low in the context of East Asia. We're saving less than 10% of GDP. That means we don't have long-term capital to invest in projects that take 5 to 10 years to be profitable. So all of our businesses are short-run, and that's not good for the economy. The average savings rate in this region is 25 to 40%. China saves 40% of its GDP. And that's why they can afford to have the best infrastructures. So little by little, we should be able to improve that. But at the moment, since majority of our population are isang tuka, isang kahig, they cannot save. And business right now is already overborrowed. So it's a no-brainer. If we don't have capital domestically, it has to come from FDIs. So FDI is not a whimsical decision. No?
Sure.
Because the Spaniards, the Japanese, the Taiwanese, the South Koreans, all have a lot of excess capital, but they cannot spend them anymore in local businesses because they're disappearing, their population. As you know, this fellow, the, 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 the richest person in the world,
Jack Ma?
no, the one who goes to the moon,
Elon Musk?
Elon Musk,
Yeah.
cannot open his mouth without saying that the biggest threat to humanity is depopulation, is aging. And that's true. And so our
Yeah.
our neighbors can no longer spend money in their own domestic economies. And they are very much willing to come here if we have the right conditions.
Yeah. Doc, maybe if just so I can recap what you just shared, because there was a lot going in there, maybe for the non-economists like myself listening to the podcast. So you shared something about, at the moment, Philippines only has 10% savings of the GDP. What that means is, because it's only 10%,
We don't have capital.
we don't have capital to reinvest for mid to long term, and the ideal to what you shared compared to our neighbors at the 40% level. That's where foreign direct investments come in,
Yeah.
because the local domestic savings is already quite short. It's in the market because of the current demographic.
And that's shown by how poor our stock market performs all the
Yeah,
time.
and that's where FDIs need to come in to capture that shortfall because our friends from Spain, Japan, as you shared,
South Korea, Taiwan,
South Korea,
all of these are depopulating, and so they cannot make use of
Yeah.
their excess capital anymore.
yeah, the consumer aspect of their GDP is declining significantly because of the population. Hence, their savings are also increasing because general economic demand and movement is declining. So now they have the opportunity to put that in countries like the Philippines.
Developing countries, yes.
Developing countries. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And that's why we have to take advantage of the situation. And,
Sure.
and that's why the assignment to BBM to attract 15 to $20 billion
Sure.
is not asking for the moon.
Yeah.
It's there, no?
If I mean, I think you clarified quite well and you summarized three key pillars to maybe sustainable development or economic development in the Philippines: agriculture, FDIs, and good governance.
Because can you imagine those trillions that were stolen by those thieves, though,
Yeah,
were put in education, human resources,
sure.
in health.
Yeah.
That would definitely improve our
Current state
possibilities
of living,
growing.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And these three pillars, if I were to put a subset, I'm using some of the frameworks, I learned in corporate where you do have key big pillars,
There's
and then you
subsets, yeah.
have three subsets or strategies for each.
Yeah.
Maybe can we take it to that level?
Yes,
Right. So
yes.
so when it comes to agriculture, that's one pillar. What are the three strategies for agriculture?
Three strategies would be: first, address the problem of the millions of small farmers in palay, in corn, in vegetables, in backyard poultry, etc. They will always be there. They will not disappear. But as I said earlier, the one that has most responsibility to do that is the state. Because you don't make money building farm-to-market roads. You don't make money in business putting up irrigation systems. So that is responsibility of the government. And it's happening. That's what I said. I like what's happening.
Farm to market roads, irrigation.
Post-harvest facilities, credit to the farmers. For example, every time I visit Tarlac and Pangasinan
Sure.
during harvest time of palay, my heart bleeds whenever I see all that palay being dried on the cemented road.
Yeah.
I mean, dryers were invented 200 years ago. Why can't the government provide its farmers with dryers, no? And 30% of that palay is lost because of that system, no?
Yeah.
So
Sasagasaan.
Yeah, that's what I mean. All
Pati
this-
uulan lang din, di ba?
exactly.
Yeah.
So all these resources must be provided by the government. You cannot ask a PPP, public partnership, that can be very good in infrastructure, in skyways, etc., but not in those facilities. Now, the other part of agriculture is large-scale commercial plantations. So as I told you, if we had done what we did with bananas and pineapples in the last century, enable the Doles, the Del Montes of the world to come here, consolidate thousands of hectares through getting each farmer to lease their farm to discount corporations. Now, it was a success story because we're now the second largest exporter of bananas and pineapples in the world.
So we did really well with
did very
pineapples
well,
and
exactly,
bananas, but
exactly.
not so much in other crops.
But exactly the point. If we had only 20 years ago, at the same time as bananas and pineapples, did the same thing with 6 to 10 others: coffee, cacao, bamboos, durian, mangoes, avocado, a number of others,
Yeah.
we would be improving the productivity of agriculture by leaps and bounds because we can apply to these large plantations what Del Monte and company were applying to their bananas,
Why
drones.
didn't we apply it?
Because we were so obsessed with planting rice to be self-sufficient in rice.
Yeah.
We spent billions trying to be self-sufficient in rice and did not succeed because we did not have the competitive advantage in palay production. which Vietnam and Thailand had.
And that competitive advantage is the rivers, maybe.
The large rivers that are oceans there.
Okay.
Rice is very water intensive. And in an archipelago, you can never accumulate water in any place. No?
Sure.
Always very
So there was an unhealthy focus on rice.
on rice. Yes.
Maybe also because it's such a political
That's why it was a political decision
headline,
that
right?
the father of Bongbong made. Although our agribusiness expert, Dr. Rolando D, was already telling him otherwise. But
Yeah.
he didn't listen. While Malaysia listened, and Malaysia became a very powerful producer of
Yeah.
palm oil, rubber, etc.
I mean, I think we were chatting on the way here that at the end of the day, what you're after is food security, food affordability.
Exactly.
Right? And
Yeah.
sometimes affordability and security does not necessarily mean having to
Producing
produce
it
it
yourself.
yourself,
Yeah,
right? When
definitely.
you can trade with someone who can give it
Yeah.
to you at a much cheaper price
Yeah.
at better quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for example, just to cite extreme examples,
Sure.
the moment that New York starts planting coconut, I will start to be self-sufficient in milk. It will be the height of stupidity to say, let's be self-sufficient in producing milk for our babies. We don't have
Yeah,
the
yeah.
competitive advantage.
Sure.
Milk is better grown in
Yeah.
the temperate regions. No? Now, you will always have people like Manny Pangilinan
Yeah.
who will see that even in the 4% that we can produce ourselves of milk, you can make money.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why they bought Carmen's Best.
Sure.
And they now bring hundreds of dairy cattle. So in a limited way, but we should have done that with Palay. We should have said, okay, let's target 60% self-sufficient Palay.
Yeah.
But the remaining 40% we will import from either India, Thailand, or Vietnam. We will always produce rice more cost competitively.
And cacao, bamboo, coffee, avocado.
We have competitive advantage.
We have competitive advantage. Why is this so?
Because we have the climate, I mean, exactly like Vietnam. Vietnam, as I told you, is the second largest exporter of coffee in the world. Why can they produce coffee and we not? Exactly in the same situation. And before the war, since I'm old enough to remember
Sure.
what happened, Batangas had a huge chocolate industry and coffee industry. I'm sure you've heard of Barako.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, that was happening in Batangas. And I felt it very closely because my mother, being married to a government official, always had to find some way of supplementing the meager salary of government officials. So I saw her selling tablea. You know exactly what I mean.
Yes.
This, and
Chocolate
that was her entrepreneurial
discs.
venture.
Yeah.
And that came from Batangas. Unfortunately, Batangas was hit by a disease that destroyed both coffee and cacao. And after that, I don't know if you remember, Sintunes. Do you know what the word Sintunes is?
No.
Sintunes is a small mandarin orange that was very common in the 70s and the 80s. I'm sure
Yes, yes, I've seen that.
Your family served it.
Yeah.
That was also very widespread in Batangas. But it was also hit by a disease. It disappeared. In fact, Makiling Conference Center is on a property that was an orange plantation.
Okay. Well. So going back to the agriculture piece,
Yeah.
consolidation of land. I think you shared
Yeah,
that.
so okay, first,
Yeah.
help the small farmers get rid of poverty.
Sure.
And I consider that more important than 8% growth.
Okay.
Then, consolidate at least 5 to 7 million hectares of both deforested areas and agricultural land and transform them into plantations that can produce these crops I mentioned. And fortunately, that's another very positive point. I'm now seeing the large conglomerates, First Pacifico, Gililan, Benguet, Unsudis, and
DMCI. Yeah.
the DMSI and Tito Lorenzo. They all are now big in plantations and spending a lot of long-term money. Benguet is 10,000 hectares of coconut in Samar that they will consolidate. following the example of this Lionheart Farm in Palawan. The Consunis, 10,000 hectares of palm oil in a town in Negros Occidental called Candoni. And Sito Lorenzo, all over the Philippines, thousands of hectares of bamboos
Sure.
because they found a process of manufacturing construction materials that are as hard as steel from bamboos.
Sure.
And as I said, the
Have some
Pagilian Group.
if you want. Yeah.
So that kind of trend is very encouraging because just 5 to 10 years ago, banks preferred to pay millions of penalty to the government, not to be obliged to invest in what was known as the agri law, because they couldn't find
Good investments for it.
good investments. But that was changing. So which means that there will be more conglomerates saying that they can make money on mangoes, make money on avocado, etc., etc. So that's a very good trend.
Okay.
So that means that the 3 to 4% growth in agriculture is possible, even beyond BBM.
Okay. So I think we've touched on the first pillar. Agriculture, to summarize, consolidation and productivity, cultivation of land.
Poverty eradication among the small.
Poverty eradication for small farms, by farm to market roads and irrigation and other industrial
Post-harvest facilities.
post-harvest
logistics, the whole
facilities.
facility.
Yeah. And the last one was refocusing on certain crops, right? So those are the three priorities for agriculture. Now, if we talk foreign direct investments, what industries do you see have big potential or synergies in your
The
global
big-
roadshows?
The ones that are already happening are infrastructures.
Infrastructure.
Yeah, because it's a no-brainer. We need double, triple our existing infrastructures.
Yeah.
And a lot of them can be done in a profitable basis, no? PPP, etc. So these are money-making opportunities. So we're not asking for donations from foreigners.
Yeah.
So infrastructure. Another industry,
When you say infrastructure, what like roads? or-
airports, for example.
Airports.
Trains.
Trains.
Take a look at who's building our train from Clark to Bulacan, etc. The Japanese.
Yeah.
Mitsubishi, etc. In the future, once we're able to correct our relationship with China, we can get China back. I always tell people, distinguish between the Chinese people and Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping is not the most attractive person as far as the Philippines is concerned, but there are millions of good Chinese who can be our partners in the future to put up a lot of businesses here, including infrastructure. If you go to China, I'm sure, fantastic.
Yeah.
Bullet trains, etc.
Sure.
So the Chinese can be as good as the Japanese if we have the right partners.
Okay.
So, infrastructure. And then you already see it because of your business. BPO IT will always be a major area for foreign investments here. And I'm not afraid
Even
of
with AI, you
I'm
think?
not afraid of AI.
Sure.
I see, because you're very close to the business, Jack Madrid and company being very ahead of the time by reskilling, retooling, upskilling their workers. So they go into more knowledge-intensive industries rather than just call centers.
Yeah.
Call centers will disappear because AI can immediately take care. We now talk to our ChatGPT and they can put on human.
Yeah.
But we will always be number one in call centers because our human beings are better than human beings, even in India, in social skills.
Yeah.
But
and the English helps a lot.
yes,
Yeah.
but it will be reduced. Definitely, we will not have 1.7 million.
Yeah.
Will be below 1 million. But we can go into, for example, animation. Filipinos are so talented.
But isn't that one of the at-risk industries when it comes to AI? Like now, in my my Instagram feed, I see Dance showing Godzilla and giant cat
But you
fighting.
will always have the creativity. Yeah. I mean, my view is artificial intelligence will increase the productivity
Oh, that's true.
of talented
Yeah.
workers.
Yeah.
But we have to choose which talents are our advantage.
Because I did read an article stating that the call center or the offshore services industry is at risk at AI versus, let's say, other countries like our peers in Southeast Asia, which focused a bit more on manufacturing the past 20 years. They de-risked their economy a bit and their labor force by focusing on that versus the service industry, which Philippines focused on. To you, it's not a hard, fast rule that's definitely a big risk for us.
Well, I'm glad you asked that because there's a lot of misunderstanding
Sure.
of technology. People are talking about Industrial Revolution 4.0.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know about that.
Sure.
So how do they define Industrial Revolution 4.0? It's artificial intelligence, robotics, Internet of Things, and data analytics,
Sure.
among others. No? Now, people don't even bother to know what was Industrial Revolution 1.0, Industrial Revolution 2.0, 3.0. So you ask, oh, you're talking about 4.0. What was the first three?
I think steam
People are-
engine,
Yeah, people are
electrification.
Yeah, people are usually they don't really remember. So the first one is what we learned in high school, Industrial Revolution of England, 1790 to 1830, which was the mechanical age. So for the first time in the history of mankind, instead of just using human beings in everything, machines started improving the productivity of human beings. The spinning jenny, the steam engine, and so on and so forth. And so, what was the first sector helped in a significant way? Manufacturing. Second, industrial revolution, electricity. Again, manufacturing was the one that benefited most. Services continued to be done in the home by the servants. Services had very little potential for the new technology. What was the third revolution? Electronics.
Yeah.
We participated partly because we produced the components, but the lowest value components. China produced the highest. So, but again, electronics, once again, helped manufacturing, improve productivity. Services continued to be, whether it is in restaurants, whether it is in tourism, they used to be very low productivity. Now, what does AI and all of this now help to improve significantly? Services. Services for the first time will experience unimaginable improvement in productivity by the use of Industrial Revolution 4.0. So there's no longer any reason to obsess with manufacturing. I say that because people are still talking, when they talk about industrial policy, they also talk about manufacturing. No longer. Manufacturing is no longer the sacred cow. Manufacturing, if you take a look now at the advanced countries, manufacturing is 10%, 15%. Because when people, and you're the first one to know that because of your exposure to demand, when people become rich, they actually buy a lot more services than manufactured goods. You can only buy a car, the richest probably every year, others every 5. But you can travel 5 times a year, for example.
Sure.
You can go to a restaurant 100 times a year.
Sure,
no?
sure.
So it's now services that will benefit from a tremendous improvement in. And so we are very lucky that 60% of our GDP is in services.
Okay.
So let's not
You're
consider.
not too worried about it.
Yeah. So some economists are still talking about we need an industrial policy. And then asking, what do you want industrial policy? Manufacturing. Don't equate industry with manufacturing.
Sure.
Even before services will benefit from all of this new technology, people forget that in the national income accounts, industry is manufacturing, public works, public utility, and construction. Mining is part of industry. So if we are able to really develop our mining industry to the full, we will be industrializing more. Even if our manufacturing is not growing. If we build all the infrastructures we need that we have not built, we will be industrializing more because infrastructure is part of industry.
Yeah.
So that's one of the misnomer that I would like to correct. Industry is not limited to manufacturing.
Perfect. Yeah.
And my view is it's too late in the day for us to have a major manufacturing sector.
Because you can't compete with the neighbors.
Because precisely they follow the right path start with labor-intensive manufacturing, then less until they now are producing cars,
Sure.
whole computers. We will never do that. We will always produce parts. We will never
Okay.
have a Philippine computer. We'll never have a Philippine car. And I don't care.
Yeah.
We don't need.
If they can do it better, cheaper.
Exactly.
Why do you need to play that game?
Exactly.
Right.
So, but we will apply all of these new technologies to our services, not only here, but abroad. Filipinos abroad, overseas workers can also multiply the productivity
Sure.
when they apply all these new technologies.
Sure.
So we will always have millions of people abroad.
Yeah.
Even if the Philippines becomes first world, you cannot stop
Yeah.
Filipinos from wanting to work abroad. Because precisely there will be such a tremendous shortage in Japan, in Korea, and Spain, that even if a Filipino family is already earning 100,000 pesos a month here,
Yeah.
if they go to Spain or to Japan, they will be offered 300,000.
Yeah.
You will not be able to.
Exactly.
compete.
Yeah.
So OFW will always be there.
Sure. Maybe to the second point on foreign direct investments, and then I think thank you again for maybe explaining a bit about that AI and the industrial revolution. But maybe if I can bring us back to the framework where we had so agriculture, I think we're clear. When it comes to foreign direct investments, although we did touch on it a bit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
don't play someone else's game; you play your own game. Infrastructure is one space where developing countries have a huge demand, and foreign investors, since it's asset and capital heavy, can really invest on. And any one or two other things maybe to complete the foreign direct
Tourism
investment.
will be definitely a very big industry.
Tourism.
Tourism and high value tourism. I'm glad that people in about tourism are talking about targeted tourism. It doesn't matter if Thailand has 30 million and we only have 10 million.
Sure.
Because the 30 million of Thailand are these tourists in their backpacks. They just pollute the environment. They don't spend a lot. We don't want those types. And in fact, you probably heard that Spain, that is number one tourism country in the world, is now so negative towards tourism that they want to stop. Because precisely,
Really?
the tourists are destroying the lifestyle of the Spaniards. They're making real estate too expensive. They're taking over their homes.
They're making them work too hard.
Among other things. They're spoiling the environment. And they're the ones actually, I lived in Barcelona for a while. These are not, of course, the expensive tourists. These are the immigrants. They're the ones who steal your backpack, who steal your computer, etc., etc. If you go to Barcelona, be very careful about your personal belongings.
Luckily, we don't need tourists for that, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so
tourism, definitely.
Yeah, tourism.
So you will need a lot more Marriotts and more Shangri-Las.
Golf, maybe. Yeah, I see there's a new PGA golf course being
Correct.
developed in Clark, and from what I hear, like the Koreans, the Japanese, it's cheaper for them to fly here and play golf here than to play there.
Clearly.
So they fly here
yeah.
just to play.
Yeah,
I
they
actually
included as part of tourism, definitely.
actually bought a second-hand golf set in Luisita, and then it was a second-hand from a Korean who just bought it here and then left it here and then flew back to Korea. So I think golf, and we have the real estate undeveloped to
Then
serve
one
that.
area
Yeah.
in which constitutional amendment is necessary, education and media. Those are still,
Education and media.
yeah, those are still
Yeah.
close.
Sure.
So those are remaining because of the Constitution. Why should we stop Harvard if it wants to stop on a university here?
Okay.
Singapore, Hong Kong are putting up all types of international campuses.
Yeah, they have INSEAD there. They have
Exactly. Yeah. Even there is a business school in Hong Kong that's teamed up with practically all the business schools, Wharton,
That's
Chicago,
right. That's right.
etc.
So in the Constitution, you're not allowed to have
40% only.
how many percent?
40%.
40%.
Like before.
Okay.
So you're going to have a majority owner. And the other is media. I don't know, you've been in media for some time. Media, they cannot invest.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the remaining closed
Yeah.
sectors because the Constitution still prohibits more than 40%. And they were not included in the public services reform. So,
Yeah.
but in terms of sunrise industries, I think we've covered the majority of them. No?
Well, and then maybe the last. So I think clear on foreign direct investments, good governance. I think you mentioned already. You know, the office of the ombudsman and Supreme Court.
Ombudsman, even the Supreme Court, all these things are relevant.
Yeah.
And by improving governance, you will be able to also improve FDIs. But as I said, FDIs are willing to come in even if you don't have a dramatic improvement in governance because they see the profitability still there. No?
Yeah. And then maybe going back, I remember when it comes to governance, I guess we did sort of touch on that already because when we talk about cultural changes, we go back to the role of education and primary, secondary, and family education in terms of instilling that sense of common good and solidarity at a very young age to make, people think more about the common good rather than family or just the individual.
Yeah, the virtue is called civic mindedness.
Civic mindedness. Yeah. Good. So I think quite clear. So to summarize your framework for sustainable economic development, it's 3 pillars: agriculture, foreign direct investments, and good governance. Agriculture, it's to improve small farmer conditions through farm to market roads, irrigation, and other after production services or subsidies. It's about focusing on high value crops, refocusing on food security and affordability, and recognizing that sometimes it's better to just trade rather than to develop your own. And then again, investing a bit more in terms of consolidation and allowing foreign investors to enter that space, make it easier for them. And hopefully we have more industries like our banana and pineapple industries. You mentioned bamboo, cacao, coffee, avocado as some of the potential next high-value crops. If we talk foreign direct investments, we spoke about infrastructure, we spoke about high-value tourism, and we also maybe spoke about...
Continue with the BPO IT. I mean,
continue with BPO IT.
The higher value.
Yeah.
And we should produce a lot more skilled workers there
Sure.
in IT, not just the low-level workers. No?
And then relating that to maybe the next pillar, good governance, it's about ease of doing business, fighting corruption, and also stepping up in the education space to have that civic mindedness. All of this will drive and improve the GDP growth from 6 to maybe an 8% level by 2040, making the Philippines a first world country by 2040.
No,
I think I was able to summarize it, I think.
But let me just say a little more about human resource development.
Sure.
We have to restructure our educational system that we don't get obsessed as we have been over the last 30 years with college diplomas. So I'm glad that in the second State of the Nation address, President Bibi already said, let's reshape our educational system so that in the senior year, in the K-12, we convince more and more people to become electricians, carpenters, mechanics, etc., rather than obtain a college degree. And that really is very important to consider in our historical aberration.
Yeah.
We follow the American model
Sure.
and not the European model. As you very well know because you were in Europe. In Europe for a long time, universities were limited to a few. They all went to technical schools.
Sure.
Precisely what a developing country needs are more electricians, more carpenters, more electromechanical workers. The likes that dual tech produces.
Yeah.
But we imprinted in the minds even of the poorest parents that the greatest happiness for them is to see a diploma in their nipa hat of their children
Yeah.
obtaining in AB or BS.
Yeah.
But
Pag pumasa sa bar, may tarpaulin sa labas ng bahay, di ba? Oo.
But these were unemployable. A lot of these people did not have the skills that industry was needing. I'm glad that over the last 3 to 5 years, and Bongbong contributed to that. If you listen to the chambers of industry, they're now all talking about enterprise-based learning.
Sure.
That they have to make sure that what the educational system is producing is relevant to their demand. And to do that, they are willing to cooperate in making the dual tech system proliferate.
Dual tech, for those not familiar, it's a
It's
school.
electromechanical workers. And the
Yeah.
system is classroom, industry, classroom, industry from the very beginning.
Sure. And it's 2 years only, right?
Yeah, 18 months.
18 months. So it makes it easier for people from maybe underprivileged backgrounds to be earning income at a much earlier stage versus
Correct,
doing
correct.
the standard 4 or
And
5
that's
years.
happened. They have had 10,000 graduates over the last 30 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Some of these workers are the ones maintaining and repairing the planes of Lufthansa.
Sure.
They're all over the Middle East.
Sure.
In fact, an idea. You have to invite the president of Dual Tech to be one of your, and they can tell you about their experience.
Yeah, I will.
The president is Jerry Buhi. Probably you'll met him.
Yeah, I have. Maybe I'll invite him for
Yeah.
sure.
No, let's inspire a lot of people all over the country to replicate the dual tech experience. In Cebu, it's called SITE, Center for Industrial Technology and Enterprise. A sister of mine, she passed away, migrated to Canada 30 years ago.
Okay.
The moment her only son graduated from high school, that nephew of mine told my sister, "Mom, I don't want to go to college. I just want to be a good mechanic." And I always tell people, if that sister of mine had stayed in the Philippines, on that day she would have a heart attack. To know that her only son was going to be just a good mechanic. But that nephew of mine makes 3 times more than most lawyers in Toronto. He drives a Lexus. He has one of the most expensive apartments in the middle of Toronto. That's how they deal with technical skills. And I remember of my own experience, when I was studying at Harvard, I visited the family, the American family, and I heard the housewife calling a plumber because they had something wrong with their restroom. And I heard the mother saying, "Sir, could you please come?" I said, "Sir?" He said, "Yeah, if you antagonize your plumber, you will be swimming in you know what." So the plumber has a tremendous status in.
Yeah.
So this is one thing I know. It's too utopian to have that immediately. But little by little, we have to build that kind of a situation where a carpenter has as much dignity as a lawyer, no?
Yeah.
But-
I mean, intrinsically, I think for sure, right? But I think, Doc, doesn't the social security aspect and policy of a country also have a lot to do with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Precisely because we've given so much importance to diplomas, all our institutions are directed towards that. But the moment that we pay, for example, a mechanic 3 times more than the ambulance chasing lawyer, definitely that will change, no? They will see that the contribution being made by the mechanic
Sure.
is much more than what they can get from a lawyer, no? So, but it is a social issue as well as an economic issue.
Okay.
But it's happening now.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Great.
That's why the one who now heads TESDA is the right person. His name is Kiko Benitez.
Yeah.
He was president of PWU for a long time.
Maybe, Doc, if you could come closer to the mic,
Outsiders
please.
like
Yeah.
Hong Kong Shy Bag, Goldman Sachs, they like always to talk about the long-term future. So there are a lot of tables which say what the world would look like in 2050.
Yeah.
So that's a common information they share. That in 2050, they themselves, outsiders,
yeah.
not propaganda, say the Philippines would be the 17th largest economy in the world.
Sure.
We will be surpassing a lot of other important economies. When I present this data in our briefing, especially the people who are close enough to my age, they always complain, "Dr. Villegas, please don't tell us about 2050. We will not be there
Yeah.
to see it." Well, you know what I tell them?
What?
Speak for yourselves.
You're-
My mother lived up to 102.
You're
God
88.
willing,
How old are
my
you, Doc?
baby's still there. I'm 87, so
You're 87.
I'll be a little over
So you'll be 102 around that time.
102. Yeah,
Yeah. So
But
I think
depends.
I think you have a good chance. Hopefully, your dream and your vision for that first world roadmap that we just discussed today
Yeah, yeah.
is something you'll get to see. And to your
No,
point,
but another thing, just a last message,
sure.
and you might be implicated.
What's that? I'm a bit nervous now.
I think Jake will come out a little better.
Maybe for your last message, you want to come
my last
closer to the
message,
mic.
because
Yeah.
he's the one that I am writing about right now in the business world. My comments have been all related to the series of articles. It's the statement of Elon Musk that the greatest threat to humanity is depopulation and aging. And the Philippines already has a replacement rate of less than 2.1, which is required for us to reach a plateau and that
2.1 in terms of
babies per fertile woman.
yeah.
So because it's a no-brainer. If the father and the mother die,
There are two people.
2 children will have to be replacing them.
Right now it's at 1.8. Is that correct?
It's 1.9 now.
1.9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means we're already below replacement.
Sure.
So I always tell, and you're included, graduates of UANP, if you're going to be patriotic and your vocation is to get married, have at least 3 children, because that's the way we will not face the fate of Japan. That's losing
Yeah.
800,000 people every year.
The reverse demographic pyramid, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So 3 children are not very much in a middle class family.
Yeah.
So I'm not asking for 6 like my parents had 7, no?
Yeah. You were 7 kids.
Yeah, we were 7. You know, when, 4 have passed away. We're now 3,
Yeah.
but we were 7. And as I said, my father was a struggling civil bureaucrat. So, but I'm not, of course, going back to the past. So I tell our graduates, please,
3
at least
kids.
3, and that
Okay.
includes you.
Yeah. So Jake, you gotta have one more. I still gotta shoot my 3-point shot. And
That's right. No, I'm glad I have this opportunity to talk to the millennials and the centennials.
yeah.
That I'm not even talking about doctrinal issues about marriage and the family.
Sure.
I'm talking about harsh economic reality.
Yeah.
We don't want to fall into the. In fact, China is the worst.
Sure.
China is aging before becoming rich. The worst of the worst is Thailand. Thailand is not a rich country, but it is aging almost as fast as Japan. And that's a very serious problem.
So have more kids. 3 is the magic number. You've heard it here.
And don't follow what Thailand did in the last century. I don't know if you heard of a certain Mechai who was given all sorts of awards, Ramon Magsaysay Award. And he was the one who implemented a birth control program really in the most ridiculous way. He would go all around the country with a helicopter and would drop condoms in all the villages.
Okay.
And Thailand followed his advice, and Thailand has now the lowest fertility rate and is aging before becoming rich. No?
Uh-huh. I've always wanted to ask before maybe we end. I remember I heard you're also the grandson of Miguel Malvar. Is that right?
Yes, my mother was the youngest daughter of Jeremy Malvar.
Of Batangas, right? The last general to surrender to the Spanish.
To the Americans.
Oh, to the Americans rather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, when the Spaniards left, the Americans took over. And
So the urban legend is true.
My grandfather with Aguinaldo Company fought the Spaniards. But when the Americans refused to leave,
Yeah.
so they fought the Americans. So.
Yeah. Well, maybe Doc, other than that, again, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to have this conversation
well, I said
with
it was a
you.
pleasure, and I hope that a lot of the things I said
Yes.
will enlighten present generation and future generation about what happened to the Philippines, why in the 50s we were known as the most promising economy in this part of the world next to Japan, why we became the Sigma of Asia by the end of the last century, and why we are now beginning to attract attention as one of the fastest growing economies in the Indo-Pacific region. So you've seen the whole change that occurred.
And the roadmap to first world is also quite clear. Thank you for that. And again, I look forward to having a similar chat when we're closer to that target that we had by
I'm
2040.
finishing a book right now that includes a lot of these things I talked to you about. I'll send you a copy.
I'm looking forward to it.
Next June or July. Ito.
All right. Well, that's it for today, guys. So thank you again so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did.
Of course,
Well,
I did, yes.
yeah, we'll have Dr. Villegas again, hopefully sooner than later. But thank you so much for listening. All right. So that's all for now. Bye, guys.
Hop on.